Time now for Vikings Fan Line on the Minnesota Vikings Radio Network. Your chance to talk about today's game with the Vikings broadcast team. Add to the conversation on Vikings Fan Line by calling 651-989-KFAN or toll free 1-800-320-5326. Now it's your reaction to all the action. Vikings Fan Line. Here's KFAN's Ron Johnson and Corey Cove.
The Vikings lose 34-33 to the Arizona Cardinals. This is Vikings Fan Line. I'm Corey Cove. That's Ron Johnson. Hi, Ron. How are you?
What's going on, man?
651-989-5326 or 1-800-320-5326. You can also react, and we can read your reactions at hashtag KFAN Vikes on Twitter. Let's start with the end and work backwards, Ron. The Vikings fall to 0-2 thanks to a missed field goal by Greg Joseph. I'd say some people on Twitter frustrated that the Vikings didn't treat those last 26 to 30 seconds a little bit differently. The Vikings got down to the Arizona 19.
Yep.
Greg Joseph misses about a 37-yarder as time expires. The Vikings lose by 1. And, of course, he also missed an extra point earlier in the game. And because all of us are diehard Minnesota fans, we knew when he missed that extra point a couple of quarters before that was going to find a way to come back to haunt us, because that's what happens in Minnesota sports. But do you have any problem or anything you want to nitpick about how they handled those final 30 seconds? What do you do?
So the other one was at, I think, the end of the second half, like the 2 runs back to back and using all the timeouts. So there's a lot of times you can look at the play calling. I mean, the only other thing I could see was maybe if Justin Jefferson makes that deep catch.
That's the difference. I'm glad you brought that up.
Going for it.
That changes the whole
touchdown.
Right. That changes the whole thing. If Jefferson catches that, there was a minute and change to go.
Correct. Then
you can go for the kill shot and take the ball out of Greg Joseph's hands.
Right.
Or his foot, I guess, and put it back into the hands of Dalvin Cook. Or, let's give credit, man, Kirk was moving the ball.
Yeah.
You can go for the kill shot if Jefferson has that catch in his hand. He had it in his hands.
You can't blame him this week. Yeah, Justin Jefferson everything. In 2020, he makes that catch.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the shoulder or, it was a tough ball. Like, let's be honest. It was a tight window. It was a tough ball.
But it hit him in both hands.
But he did. And he couldn't
come catch that?
I probably would.
All right. We've seen Daniel Carlson get his ass cut unbelievably quickly.
Not at 41, though. I would call that at
Zimmer does not have a lot of patience with kickers.
Yep. He has to with this guy.
You could easily argue, though, that Greg Joseph cost him the game. Zimmer's 0-2. It's not going to get any easier with the Seattle Seahawks coming to town next week, right? This is bad for Zimmer. Is he going to take it out on Joseph or not? What do you do?
I hope not, because the kid made a 52-yarder. Like, he's made some big spot kicks. I don't know what it is. I really don't know. I don't know if it's the jerseys. I don't know if because there was a delay too before they went to kick it. It was almost like they were waiting for Cliff Kingsbury to call a timeout. Like timeout's coming. Let's just wait. Let's wait.
For the ice.
Yeah, because he wasn't usually it's get up, snap it, go kick it. Like that's what they should have done. Just go through your progressions without worrying about a timeout. And that's what it felt like. It felt like that little delay of everybody standing there for a minute was like, timeout's coming. Let's go through the motions. You're going to kick it. They're going to call it timeout, and then we're going to kick it again just like last time. So that's the problem. That's why I hate that rule. I get the icing the kicker. That's a dumb rule. Like, if you really don't need to use the timeout, stop letting people do that.
But let's take the other side just to see what you would have done, right? If there's a little bit under 30 seconds left and you have one timeout.
Yeah.
And you call the timeout, which is what they did with 4 seconds left.
Right.
If you call the timeout and say, let's get a little bit closer, we're at the 19, but we want to get a little bit closer. I don't know if 4 or 5 yards changes anything, right? A 37-yarder, my guess is the percentage from a 37-yarder to a 32-yarder is probably almost identical, maybe a point or two difference, right? But that's the same distance for an NFL kicker. So I guess for the people that are saying you got to call the timeout, you got to try to push it in, are you going for the touchdown? What are you doing there? Because if you call a timeout and you're out of timeouts, now there's 26, 27 seconds to go.
I'm taking shots at the end zone.
That's what I'm saying. What are you doing? Because if you hand it off to Dalvin, if he gets a yard or two, then you have to run up, spike the ball, and he's still. I guess I don't know what the plan is.
I'm taking one shot.
Outside of sideline shots or end zone shots.
I'm going to make it a run pass option for Kirk. I'm going to roll out. The problem is, Kellen Mond needs to have a package like Justin Jefferson. Like, he needs to be in the game. in situations where he can use his legs.
Not there, though. You can't bring in Kellen Mond with 20.
I mean, would you?
6 seconds
if
left
you
and
have
say,
Andy Dalton,
run.
if you have Andy Dalton or Justin Fields in that situation, do you give the ball to Justin Fields or do you let Andy Dalton try to finish it out?
I give it to Dalton. I give it to whoever's been playing the game for 59
more just
minutes and 30 seconds.
Like Kyler Murray. Run as far as you can to the sideline on a play action. Mm-hmm. If you can get upfield, take it. Because now it's you versus like a linebacker or a DN that you're faster than. And we saw Kirk run today. But I mean, I would just do Kirk. Like I would have rolled Kirk out to the right, have everybody flow right, have somebody maybe come across the field back, see if you can get some kind of wide open blown coverage, because they were blowing those coverages all day. But you have to give them more than just back up, let Chandler Jones pin his ears back because he knows it's a pass, or the obligatory fade to the corner of the end zone, hoping for a pass interference. If it happens to get tipped, it's an interception. So
you just can't take a sack there, right? But if you throw a pass like you're saying over the middle and you're gaining 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards, then you have to quickly get up to the ball and spike it.
Yep.
And then Greg Joseph kicks a 25-yarder instead of a 37-yarder. I get that. He still has to make it, right? We've seen this with Gary Anderson back in the day. If it's in the 30s, you got to knock it through.
That's what my tweet said.
You have to.
You got to do it. You look at
Twitter?
Greg. I am on Twitter. You look at Greg Joseph. What is his name? Daniel Carlson, Blair Walsh, and then you just said the name Gary Anderson.
Yeah.
Like, they all need to shake hands right now because you all have been in this situation. I mean, some people are tweeting you can throw in, what's his name? What was the other kid? Kai Forbath, and then what's the other guy from the Cowboys? Dan Bailey. You know, he said he lost some games. I don't even remember. Like, I think I'm so desensitized at this point to kickers losing games.
That's what we do here.
They all look the same at this point.
Yeah. Dan in Plymouth, you're on Vikings Fan Line. Hi.
Hey, how's it going, boys?
Good.
Good. All right, couple of things to say. Number one, Corey, I agree with you. Zimmer's been insanely critical of kickers, but Greg, when he was interviewing him, kind of asked him about it, and I was surprised to hear that Zim stuck up for his kicker first time in from what I can remember, reminding us that he drilled the 50-plus yarder last week to send us into overtime.
Yep.
Second thing is, I have been as critical of Cousins as anyone out there, and the guy should have 2 game-winning drives, in 2 weeks. I think that potentially, everyone on Twitter, and you guys were just talking about it, had mentioned that, maybe we should use our last 20, 30 seconds, run another play, get it a little bit shorter. But Dalvin fumbled last week in the waning seconds. So I'm not sure if that jaded him or what, but I don't know. I'm depressed, man. I need a bit of a PA's Davenport of love, but hopefully we can get on track next week at home.
Yep, thanks for the call. I agree with essentially everything you just said, too. And, hey, this just in, Ron. This is a game of inches, right? This team could easily be 2-0, but that's not the case. They're 0-2. And mostly at their own hands, right? Dalvin Cook and the penalties last week, some weird plays in the second half this week, and of course a couple of missed kicks. And the Vikings are 0-2. And let's go again. Let's go worst case scenario. I don't know what the Wolves are thinking with Zimmer. Right? If he's 2-0 right now, think of the padding he has. Right. You're 0-2. Seahawks and Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett and Chris Carson and all those guys are coming. DK Metcalf are coming to U.S. Bank Stadium next week.
They just lost, by the way, by a field goal. Their field goal kicker found a way to make a field goal
in overtime, right? Yeah. Either way, what do you think about Zimmer's situation here as we start this season 0-2?
I mean, gut reaction, it feels like 0-3. It does. And it feels like Browns, maybe 0-4, and then you got to beat the Lions to go 1-4 at that point. I mean, that's gut reaction. I mean, everybody thought they would lose to the Cardinals, but worse than what it was. People gave them no shot after seeing what Chandler Jones did to the Titans, Taylor Lewan. And then today, Chandler Jones had no tackles until like the end of the game. So this team it's night and day. It's just figuring out what is this team going to look like. Again, having the crowd now with the defense. The crowd out in Arizona, I couldn't tell who was home and who was away. It was like the crowd was cheering the entire game, no matter what was going on. But it does not feel good. I mean, that offense is just as explosive. Russell Wilson is just as much of a magician as Kyler Murray. You're basically in the same situation. You gotta do what you did early on and continue on. It felt like eventually Kyler Murray just warmed down, where it was like, all right, eventually one of these plays is going to pop, and then it started to finally work.
I think I read on Twitter today that about 88% of the money was on the Arizona money line side of the bet, which did not go the wrong way, right? If you had Arizona on the money line, you got the 1-point win. However, the Vikings covered. The 3.5. The Vikings are covered. Yeah, they covered.
So people bet their money.
651-989-5326 or 1-800-320-5326. But before we break, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is Minnesota Vikings football.
Justin Jefferson wide right, KJ Osborne slot right, Dalvin the single set. On first down, play action to Dalvin off that sweet run. Deep shot, man uncovered, KJ, 20, 10, touchdown! 2 plays, 1 lead, and KJ Osborne's first National Football League touchdown. It's 6-0 Minnesota! Second and goal. Chris Herndon in motion to the right. Madison, the tailback. Cousins back to pass. Throws to the end zone. Touchdown! Vikings! It's Adam Thielen uncovered. Adam Thielen with his 3rd receiving touchdown this year, and the shootout continues. It's 13-7 Minnesota.
Vikes lose 34-33 to the Cardinals. This is Vikings Fan Line. Corey Cove and Ron Johnson. Ron, that first highlight was a KJ Osborne touchdown, right? A little broken coverage by the Arizona Cardinals. The cornerback lets him go. Safety doesn't realize he's supposed to be there, so either the corner or safety makes a mistake. KJ Osborne runs into the end zone. Last year...
But to that point, though, and we won't know this until we see the all-22, because somebody else said the same thing. Oh, it's a broken coverage. Kirk didn't make a good throw. We don't know that. Like, people always assume they know the protection or they know the coverage.
Well, one of the two made a mistake, though, right?
No, because if it's cover 6, one side has 4, the other side has 2. So on the 2 side, if you watch the linebackers, they sat in a zone. Like, they sat in the flat or the hook. So it was some kind of zone to that side because the linebackers ran to the hook. If that cornerback has the flat, his job is to carry the receiver, make him widen outside, and then flip and turn to cover the flat. That safety now, he got put in a bind because they ran a double go crisscross. So what he tried to do was play in between the two of them from what it looked like. Kirk just made a great throw. And what that is in cover 2, that's the one spot a quarterback has to attack, which is that it's a zone hole. And you have to link. I mean, look at it. Wasn't a fade route. Kirk threw an absolute line drive bullet to KJ Osborne, and KJ had to catch it. If he doesn't catch it, it's going out of bounds and going to hit somebody in the eye on the sideline. And
God, that's the last thing Zimmer needs.
Oh my goodness,
so many eye surgeries.
And so Kirk throws a great ball to where KJ does not have to slow down, and he can run through the safety coming over the top to blow him up. Mm-hmm. I think it was just a great throw and a great call on that coverage. Now, once we see the all-22, we might see it was just straight man, but I don't see man happening if the linebackers are just sitting in the flat like that.
But back to KJ Osborne for a second. He looked so overwhelmed by NFL life last year, right?
Yeah.
On the returns. Yep. You're like, this dude just is not ready, or maybe he's just not NFL worthy.
He didn't have a swagger.
Right, well, maybe.
Yeah.
And then BC Johnson, out for the year with an injury. We need a wide receiver 3.
Yep.
And all camp long, they're like, KJ Osborne. I'm like, he shouldn't even make the team. How is this guy an NFL player? Clearly, they saw something, right? So far, so good. You can feel the difference in KJ Osborne. I have no idea what his ceiling is, but he's making some plays. Had a couple of nice catches on that, or at least one nice catch on that final drive to keep it going.
Yeah, 2.
So.
Yeah, both in the middle. I mean, he's making the plays when it counts. He made those same diving catches in camp. And there's 2 things. Some people say, okay, you make catches in shorts. You can make catches when your own teammate's not trying to take your head off. Well, now he's making those same catches in games. And so, I mean, I think as of now, that wide receiver 3 conversation can be over. This kid wearing number 17 is making those Jarius Wright type plays on third down, the big plays down the field that are going to come here and there every time Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson's getting double. And that's the thing. Jefferson ran on that touchdown. Jefferson ran the cross. So he went on the inside release go, kind of like seam. If it's 2, Justin Jefferson has middle of the field open. And that's why he broke in. That safety's thinking, damn, middle field is open. I have to kind of honor Justin. Like if you know this, if you see KJ Osborne and Justin Jefferson running at you and you're a safety and you're playing half of the field, you're going to shade Justin Jefferson.
Sure.
And we don't even know, like we haven't looked at Kirk Cousins' eyes. Did Kirk Cousins stare down Justin Jefferson so that the safety stayed there? And then he came over and made that throw to KJ. Because if that was Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or whoever, we're going to talk about that. Oh, look how he moved the safety with his eyes and he stared down Gronk and then he came back to Mike Evans. No, if it's Kirk Cousins, oh, man, they suck. They blew the coverage. Kirk just threw the ball. He's wide open. It's like we have to give the same credit when things are due. And if you don't really know, because I see a lot of tweets about that, like you just don't know. And also to this guy on Twitter, Orange something, like he has an orange and an emoji. He's saying that I tried to say Kellen Mond should be in the game. One, that was a joke because I finished off my point by saying Kirk Cousins needs, he needs to be able to get off the edge and run. So that was my actual point. I did not actually mean Kellen Mond should be in there. Why? Because the kid's not even QB2 right now. So that's just heartbreak emotion, like jokes of as far as like do something else. But we all know Kirk had the ball in his hands. He tried to do what he could do. Kicker missed the kick, and that's the end of it.
And again, Kirk was okay, maybe a little bit better than okay against Cincinnati. I thought Kirk was very good today, right?
Yeah.
So, like a lot of, I think the first caller said it. I've seen a lot of reaction on Twitter. It's really hard to put this one on Kirk, especially like the first caller said. You could have argued he had a game-winning drive set up against Cincinnati, game-winning drive set up against the Arizona Cardinals today, and he's 0-2, right? It's hard to put either one of these on Kirk. Terry in Spirit Lake, you're on Vikings Fan Line.
Hey, Ron and Corey, how you doing, man?
Pretty good.
The very definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expect different results. What would happen if we decided to start going for two after a touchdown? Even though I went to school in South Dakota, and it was public school, mind you, I can do the math, and we'd only have to be 50% efficient on the 2-point conversion to do better than we're doing now.
Yeah, well, fair take. Yeah, if you go 1 for 2, you break even for sure.
That's the statistics that Corey loves.
Well, and again, I know people are going to be very frustrated, and they're going to throw out words like curses, right? That the Vikings are cursed, that the state of Minnesota is cursed. I don't know why this continues to happen to us, but it does. It just keeps happening to us in big spots. And this is a week 2 game, but it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
They did in the third quarter on the Nick Vigil interception for a touchdown, the 38-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
They did go for 1 to go up by 6. What would you have done there? Start of the second half, right?
Mm-hmm.
They score. They make it 29-24. They kick the extra point. You go up 30-24. Do you go for 2 and get it up to 7, or do you say it's early in the third, you just kick the extra point and go up 6? Because I tend to lean towards going for 2.
I thought about that the whole game of going for 2 at some point to try to get that 1 point back. The question is when. And so, I mean, like the caller said, you had a couple opportunities of touchdowns where you could have split 1 for 2 and tried to get that point back at some point. But then you're playing the game of attrition where eventually you just keep only getting 6. And then if you, like, say he makes none of his 2-point conversions, and then at the end of the game, a field goal doesn't win it and we need a touchdown. Like, then fans are going to be like, oh my God, why'd you go for 2 so much? You hate kickers. Why do you even have a kicker on the team if you're not going to use them? I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Like when it comes to this scoring stuff and when one bad thing happens, it becomes the butterfly effect. What if this doesn't happen, then this can happen. If this doesn't happen, then this can happen. I mean, honestly, make the kick. Like then we're not even having this conversation.
Well, I agree. That's the easy answer. But but go back to that one, right? Let's say it's early in the third quarter. Nick Vigil returns it for 38 yards. It gets the touchdown.
Yeah.
And now you're up 5.
Yep.
If you go for 2 and miss, right, you're still up 5 with a half to play. So no matter what happens with Arizona the rest of the way, it's not like you're costing yourself the game. You have a 5-point lead. That might be your best chance to play with house money and try to get that point back.
I get that.
By going for 2 there.
Yeah, because if they're up 5 and then Arizona, say they don't get it, they're up 5, Arizona scores, then their thought is what you're saying. Let's go for 2 because now we can go up 3 and now they can only tie it.
Right, so either way, if Zimmer had gone for 2 there after the Vigil interception for a touchdown, I would have been completely cool with that. He chose not to. Saul in Blaine. Hi, Saul.
Hey, how we guys? How we doing?
Good.
No, just like White Bear math, Minnesota kicking. You know, whether it's the Gophers, the Vikes, just kind of goes hand in hand. Doesn't make sense. But I was more miffed in a game that points were at a premium. It was kind of back and forth. What we did before the end of the half, I mean, we got the field goal to go up 23-21. And then I don't understand why they do it in college or pro. They do the squib kick or the pooch kick, where you basically, I mean, the Cardinals had 2 timeouts, and clearly they've got, Kyler Murray, and they've got a bunch of weapons on offense. I mean, you basically give them the ball at the 35 or the plus 35, 40, where, you only need 20, 25 yards, and not to mention you've got a kicker with probably one of the strongest legs in football, Prater, who, we basically just traded 3 at the end of the half. It's just either kick it out of the end zone and just give them the ball to 20, 25, whatever. But I just don't understand the thinking. I mean, special teams today literally just cost us the game. But you guys have a great day.
All right, thanks for the call. Yeah, the squib kick was a weird choice, I think. And not only did that put Arizona in a good place, but how about Rondale Moore right before the half? Just kept shaking for more yards. He gets that 18-yarder to put Matt Prater in a position to score the long 3 with the 62-yarder. But then he runs out of bounds with 1 second to go.
Right. He got lucky.
He got lucky because he's trying to squeeze every single yard, and he runs out with 1 second left. But again, if the Vikings just freaking tackle him,
correct,
doesn't get out of bounds, and Prater doesn't have a shot. But that kick was 62. That would have been good from at least 67, 68. He bombed that kick.
Right. Rondale Moore's hard to tackle. I mean, we saw that when he was in college at Purdue. He is an absolute, the kid squats 550 pounds or something. I mean, he is an absolute tough guy to bring down in the open field.
More of your phone calls after this at 651-989-5326 or 1-800-320-5326. You can also reach out on Twitter, hashtag KFAN Vikes. That's Ron Johnson. I'm Corey Cove. Vikings lose 34-33 to the Arizona Cardinals. Vikings fall to 0-2. This is Minnesota Vikings football.
3 receivers to the left. Chase Edmonds to the left of Kyler. A.J. Green solo alone to the right, opposite Bashad Breeland. Here's Stephen Weatherly running in untouched on Kyler, who sprints away to the left, and he throws to an uncovered man. It's Rondale Moore at the 40. Vikings 30, 20, 10. Touchdown Arizona Cardinals. It is a 77-yard touchdown. Kyler Murray to Rondale Moore.
Welcome back to Minnesota Vikings Fan Line. The Vikings lose 34-33 to the Cardinals. I'm Corey Cove. That's Ron Johnson. Shortly after the game, we had Paul Allen, Ben Lieber, and Gabe Henderson going between the lines. Here's Gabe.
Well, losses never come easy in the NFL, and today's 34-33 loss to the Arizona Cardinals today sucked. That's the easiest way to put this thing. Greg Joseph missed a 37-yard field goal right behind us, Ben Lieber, and, we were in the game heading, pretty much every single second until, I guess, the 4-second mark when we missed the field goal, but we just couldn't finish it in.
Yeah, we just couldn't finish it. And I just want to say that was one of the most entertaining games that I think I've ever been a part of, just as a player or as a fan and working on the sidelines. Hats off to both teams. There were big plays. Obviously, there's mistakes when they go through the film that guys left wide open. Kyler Murray's a special talent. We understand all that, but the bottom line is, at the end of the game, you left it on the foot of your kicker, and I just think that the way that our offense was going, the way that Clint Kubiak was calling the game, the way that the momentum was going, I just think that there's still opportunities to advance the ball, even if you don't get to the end zone, to make that game-winning field goal even a higher percentage. But here we are, 0-2.
Here we are, 0-2, and we got a home game next week with PA. Before we get there, I know you and I were in the booth. It was very dramatic up there, but your overall thoughts on today?
Well, I'm with Ben. It was a very entertaining game. A couple of things here. On a day Dalvin has 120 and change, you hold the Cardinals to 0 sacks a week after they have 6. Cousins outruns Kyler Murray. Kirk Cousins had more rushing yards than Kyler Murray. You allow Max Williams to have a career game. And the yeah, but stuff, but we beat Cincinnati if Dalvin doesn't fumble. Yeah, but we beat Arizona if Joseph hits from 37. Well, none of that happened, and we're 0-2. So this one stings very much because of the way the defense, despite the points given up, the defense against Kyler, and DeAndre Hopkins didn't have a catch from the first quarter on. So, there were a lot of good things done moving forward. Those are the details that matter, man. But this one, this is a tough one.
More details, Patrick Peterson, really good game today against D-Hop. Harrison Smith, really great game today. I know it didn't show up in the stat sheet, but Daniil Hunter, 3 sacks. It was good to have him back. Hopefully we can just build on that until next week against the Seattle Seahawks. Purple Faithful, we hope to see you there.
All right, that's Gabe Henderson, Paul Allen, and Ben Lieber. They were live in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. Vikings lose by 1. He just mentioned Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter, 3 sacks, Ron Johnson. An absolute monster game, but not quite enough, of course, to get us the victory at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see Daniil back out there healthy. I mean, I think that's what we missed last year was a healthy Daniil Hunter that can get not just Kyler Murray, but give quarterbacks problems. I mean, he showed the reason why he wanted more money, why he thinks he's the best pass rusher in the NFL. He is. He's shown it time and time again that he's a force. And I think that's the key is he did as much as he could do. The defense, had ups and downs throughout the game. But Daniil Hunter, I mean, he is legit. Like, that's one piece of this defense that we can say, okay, Mike Zimmer's back to getting the pass rush. You saw Eric Kendricks. You saw Nick Vigil. I mean, guys are playing, and there's still no Anthony Barr. So, I mean, who knows if he isn't going to actually play this year? But with him out there with that group now, I mean, they will be even better, but when?
Yeah, Vigil's playing really well. Jonathan in Alexandria, you're on Vikings Fan Line. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What do you got?
I think you guys kind of already touched on it, but with the field goal at the end, I just kind of thought, like, with Zimmer seeing this, like, so many times with kickers, it's like, I can't remember how much time he had, but because I was so emotional about it right away, but I think you said he had like 20 seconds. I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I think it was 26 or so, I think, is when they could have called the timeout.
Okay, yeah. Like, that's plenty of time to get more yards. Here's my main point. Like, how many times Zimmer has, like, seen this with kickers? Like, he should know that. But I love Zimmer. I'm like, it is what it is. But my last question, too, is, like, Ron, what do you think about, like, the defense? Should we be, like, concerned about the defense? Because I know, like, everybody's probably happy about how the offense played. But I feel a lot more comfortable, like, with Zimmer, in his background, knowing that our defense is, like, short up. But it looks like in his zone, there were holes all over the defense. So, yeah, just want to know what you guys think.
All right, thanks for the call. Well, let's take those one at a time. The defense we'll get to second, but let's go back to the thing that everybody keeps talking about still on social media, which is what do you do those last 26 to 30 seconds?
Right.
I guess my only question to Zimmer, or even maybe more so Greg Joseph, is I don't know him at all. I don't know how well Zimmer knows him because Greg Joseph hasn't been here very long. To me, it's about Greg Joseph's mentality. If 5 yards makes a big difference to him, if Zimmer thinks, man, 5 yards is worth Greg Joseph's mentality, like I can get him 5 more yards if it's going to make him feel better. Because to my point when we opened the show, my guess is for a kicker at the NFL level, a 32-yarder and a 37-yarder, the percentage of you making them is almost identical. It's got to be very close, right? Yeah. It's not like if you kick a 37-yarder, you're going to win 60% of the time. In a 32-yarder, it's 90, right? It might be, honestly, the difference between 88% and 86%. It's going to be something very small.
Correct.
But does it matter if you think Greg Joseph's going to be significantly more comfortable from 32 or 31 as opposed to 37, then yeah, you got to do it. So is this Zimmer saying, I don't know if I trust my offensive line because we can't afford either Dalvin to get stuffed if they're going to try to run it and then spike the ball, or if they're going to let Kirk drop back and get sacked and then they have to spike the ball and it's a longer one? So is this a lack of faith in the O-line or what is it? Because otherwise, if you have a confident kicker, if you have a Justin Tucker, right, or back in the day, or even a Dan Bailey pre-Vikings, right, a Dallas Cowboys Dan Bailey.
Most accurate kicker, and yeah.
A 37-yarder is pretty standard in the NFL. And again, the point I'm going to keep making, it's about the same as a 32-yarder.
Right.
So what are you playing for if you're going for it in those final 26 seconds, theoretically with no timeouts? If you're calling a timeout with 26 seconds to try to get more yards, because that was that would have been their last timeout. The one they used with 4 seconds left was, if you use it with 26, you're out. So you have to spike the ball if you get tackled in bounds, unless you just play the sidelines, or you mentioned in the first segment, the end zone.
Right.
Your thought on that before we get to the defense? Do you think that Greg Joseph's mentality comes into this and the offensive line potentially does as well or not?
I think a little bit. I think also it's what got you snake bit last time, which was a fumble. So if you're there and you feel like, you know what, let's not test fate. Let's not try this one more time just to center the ball, or where do what hash do you need the ball on, or whatever it is. I think part of that comes back to it. Like you remember how you lost the last game. It was a fumble, and that's probably a little bit like, hey, we're here. Let's just do it. Let's get out. But again, I'm going to go back to what my original point was. Get Kirk Cousins on the edge. If you run a double move on the outside, the DBs, everybody's thinking, okay, these guys are going to try to take a shot. You got to play that mental chess game. And so if you move a chess piece, you got to see what their counter is. They're thinking, yeah, maybe this is the point of calling the timeout, to take a shot. So when you get the guys doing all that crap, you get Kirk on the edge. Now he can run, because most likely DBs aren't going to play zone. They're going to play off like they were because they're trying to keep the receivers in front of them anyway. Now Kirk can just run and get you 7 yards and just run out of bounds. And now you bring it back over. And like you're saying, now it's a 31-yarder or a 30-yarder even. I mean, and who knows? Like, they might completely blow the fact that they don't think they're going to put Kirk Cousins on an edge. And now he can just, run all the way down to maybe the 10 or, 15-yard line. I mean, you just don't know. That's why you do it. But yeah, that was their choice. Let's give our kicker a 37-yarder and see what happens.
All right, the other question was the defense. Let me ask you a couple questions about the secondary, because like you mentioned, right now the linebackers are a little banged up. We don't have Barr. I have no idea if Kendricks was 100%, but obviously he was a question mark going into the weekend. We weren't 100% sure if he was going to play until basically today.
Right.
Do we have a massive problem with Bashaud Breeland, or is it just too early to say after 2 weeks? Because they are abusing him so far, and Muss and I were talking about it during the game, and Muss brought up the point, like, he's even a little surprised they haven't gone at Breeland more with how easy it's been to exploit him the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not going to say a problem. I'm just going to say you don't target Patrick Peterson. Like, he's still Patrick Peterson. Like, he hasn't really lost a step. Like, the guy's still good. And so it's just like the fact of when Xavier Rhodes got really good, teams start testing Trey Waynes. They're like, look, we know Xavier Rhodes is going to have 29 PBUs, so let's go to the other guy, because the other guy, turns the wrong way or doesn't play the ball right or can't pick it off. That's what they're doing. They're going at Bashaud Breeland because of that. I think he's okay. He's just sometimes he's like there and doesn't turn the right way, or, like the AJ Green thing. That has nothing to do with coverage. That's just, he stiff armed you into the ground and you had nothing, you couldn't do anything with him. I mean, AJ Green is still a big boy. Like, I think we forget that. He was the man in Cincinnati. And now he's just playing the Batman to DeAndre Hopkins, playing the Robin to DeAndre Hopkins Batman. Like, he's just there to, like, hey, look, let's, just like JJ Watt. We're just here to try to win the Super Bowl. Like, let's all come together and try to get this thing done here. But yeah, I'm a little concerned. But again, I think Zimmer is still trying to figure out what does his defense completely look like, because we've seen them do like the cover two, and there's been a couple times when Patrick Peterson keeps plastering his guy in the flat versus giving him space. So if you're the flat guy in the cover two, give him 4 to 5 yards, and then you got to be able to play that tweener of the guy running up the corner route to the sideline. And he's gotten beat twice, once with Jamar Chase with the Bengals, and then again today with Rondale Moore in the touchdown. If he's playing off, realizing I can come up and tackle the guy underneath versus, sticking to him, it's a tougher throw for the quarterback, and he's not going to take that shot. And so that's the second time Patrick Peterson's been caught kind of that cover four, that zone kind of look where he takes the first guy that hits his flat area. And so it's not just Bashaud Breeland. I mean, there's other holes there. Mm-hmm. But again, it's tough. It is tough. Yep. I mean, it's 2 games in. It's a new defense for both of the corners. So I guess there's going to be growing pains.
Yeah, so far it's not great, but we'll see. Phil from northern Wisconsin. Hi, Phil.
Hi there, guys. How are you doing tonight?
Good.
Oh, I shouldn't say that. Sorry. Anyway,
That's fine.
Zimmer is just not the guy. I mean, honestly, when was Zimmer's defense any good? Maybe the year Blair Walsh missed the field goal in the freezing cold. I mean, when was the last time he had a legitimate defense?
He's had multiple top 10 defenses.
Yeah, but when it counts, they fold. I mean, what are the chances? What are the odds that we gave away the wrong head coach to Cleveland? We let the wrong GM go to Denver. I mean, we got to get rid of these guys. We can't win with the guys we got.
All right.
Breeland flops around like a fish. Every time he gets beaten, he's flopping every 2 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the call. Again, I think Zimmer's defense mostly speaks for itself, right? I think Zimmer's defense, since he's been here, way better than the previous regimes for Vikings head coaches, right? He was legit. The second point might be accurate as well, though, right? We might look back 5 years from now going, man, Stefanski's in Cleveland and we let him walk.
Yeah.
Conceptually, would I rather have an older defensive-oriented coach or a younger up-and-coming offensive coach? Yeah, I'd rather have an up-and-coming young offensive mind, but that's just me. I don't know. I mean, I think you can win with both. I just like the high-flying young offensive minds. I think they're more exciting to watch. I think it's a more entertaining brand of football. I like aggressive coaches, and younger coaches tend to be more aggressive with going for it on fourth.
It's
with
not just the young. Like Bruce Arians is
in general, though. I'm just saying if we're gonna blanket statement them, the younger coaches seem to make more aggressive plays because
Kansas
they're
City, though.
Based on the numbers.
Andy Reid.
Yeah, or is that the enemy?
We don't know.
Exactly.
Andy Reid's. I mean, he's not just saying be enemy, do whatever you want to do. I'm sitting here and I'm gonna just sit back and wait for the Super Bowl. Like there are some coaches that say, hey, like coordinator, you go do your thing. It could be part of that Zimmer's not letting go of some of that stuff because we know the defense is kind of his, and offensively we know in the past it's always been I need an older person here and then somebody else I can control. I mean that's been the overarching kind of feel. Whether it's true or not, we'll never really know because it's not like somebody's going to do a tell-all book about playing under Zimmer until maybe Zimmer retires.
Unless Norv's just sitting at home writing something.
Could be.
But we've had already a couple of callers. This is what I'm talking about in terms of what is the Wilf group thinking.
Yeah.
Because they're 0-2 and there's a lot of fans that are tired of Spielman and Zimmer. I don't care either way. I'm not here to argue it that they should be fired or should not be. It doesn't really change my life at all. But if the Wilfs are saying, man, we just can't do this anymore, they're essentially lame duck GMs or coaches, their contracts are running out. What do we do with them? Again, that's why I keep asking, how many losses to start the season is enough for the Wilfs to say, I've seen enough? If it goes to 0-3 and then Stefanski makes it 0-4, right? Because Cleveland, I believe, is week 4. Seattle and Cleveland, right? If you're 0-4, do the Wilfs say, I've seen enough? I don't know. Some people say no. Other people are saying maybe 0-4 is enough to say.
Or does he
we've
try to
seen
find
enough.
a scapegoat and start firing coaches?
Yeah. Well, who are you going to fire? Your own son? 651-989-5326 or 1-800-320-5326. This is the KFAN Minnesota Vikings radio network driven by Polaris.
To feel sick.
2nd and 9 for Arizona after the fiasco. From the Vikings 12, Murray empty backfield, 2 receivers right, 3 out to the left. They're all split, very far apart from each other. Here's the snap. Minnesota rushes forward, design run for Kyler. Up the middle, 10-5, and Kyler Murray into the end zone. Touchdown, Arizona Cardinals. Well, he still has fewer rushing yards than Kirk, okay?
Right.
That's the second rushing touchdown of the season for young Kyler. And it is 2013 Minnesota.
The Vikings go on to lose 34-33 to the Arizona Cardinals. That's Ron Johnson. I'm Corey Coe from the Power Trip Morning Show. We're taking your calls and reacting to the Vikings loss, the second loss of the season. They're 0-2. The Cardinals move to 2-0. Jay in St. Paul. Hi, Jay.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Doing fine.
Really good.
First off, I want to say I really appreciate you guys as a host of Fan Line. It's really fun to listen to. I think you guys are very knowledgeable.
Appreciate it.
Second off,
Super
I
nice.
was going to call and talk about the curse, but you guys convinced me it really isn't a curse, and then I started thinking about it. I've been a lifelong Vikings fan. I'm 61 years old. And when the things like the Greg Lewis catch from Brett Favre, even the miracle in Minneapolis, and even the 53-yard kick last year at the end of the game become the exception rather than the rule, I think that's where people start thinking it's a curse.
Do you believe in curses, Jay?
What do I believe in curses? Yeah, I played rugby for 13 years, so I truly believe in curses.
So what, that means your head's all messed up because you got hit so many times, or what do you mean? Do you believe in magic spells, Jay?
Very superstitious about how you put your equipment on and things like that. And I think that's one of the things, too, is sports figures become very superstitious. And maybe when he didn't get frozen, maybe that threw him off, too. Maybe that threw Joseph off.
Maybe. Way more, thanks for the call. Way more likely than a curse. That's how desperate we are to try to figure out this loss.
I mean, how do you even break a curse?
A curse. You don't, because they don't exist, so don't worry about it. David from Minneapolis. Hi, David.
Hey, good evening, guys. So I have a comment and a question. First, the comment, the real possibility that they could be 0-3 against the Seahawks next week, but I feel better about that playing. They can learn a lot from playing Kyler Murray. I think he and Russell Wilson play similarly, so the fact that those two games are close, they can prep a little better for that instead of playing against pocket passers for a long time and then going against Russell Wilson. The question I have, though, is going in, we're kind of talking about the end of the game, how they became conservative, didn't go for it and stuff, and that was like Ben Lieber's point. But Zimmer's teams are always conservative. That happened in the first half. They had plenty of time to try to do something with it and not settle for a field goal. Instead, they ran Delvin Cook and ended up burning their final timeout on a running play, and then ended up settling for a field goal, and they gave Prater enough time to come down and kick this 62-yard field goal. And so, Ron, I guess what I'm wondering is, when you're a team like that and your coach is like conservative and stuff, and you feel like you're going along really well, does that kind of become demoralizing over time, where you feel like he doesn't believe in us? We don't, why can't we try to punch this in?
All right, thanks for the call. Your thoughts on conservative play calling maybe at the end of both halves?
Well, I don't know if it's the coach doesn't have faith. I mean, I think he's just telling the offensive coordinator to do what you do. So, we don't know Clint Kubiak. Like, we really don't know his offense. Like, we can't say, he's a risk taker, he's a gunslinger, he's we knew what Sean McVay was. We now kind of see what Zach Taylor's going to be. We don't really know what Clint Kubiak is. I mean, he does have some gimmicky stuff in there. We saw that with the Justin Jefferson pass. We saw that with the 3 running backs in there today, 1 tight end, 1 receiver, and jet sweep on Dalvin Cook. So we've seen wrinkles. We haven't really seen, like you say, game theory. We haven't seen his game theory. Is he a go for 2 guy? Is he a Mike Tomlin, like you said, split the 2 and if I get half, I got 1 point now every time. So we don't know. So I don't know if players can even say that 2 games in. I think Adam Thielen said it. The first game, we had no idea what we are. Like, we didn't know what we were. And then he's like, okay, now we kind of have an idea of what we are. Now after game 2, they're going to go back and watch film, and now they have a better feel. Like,
but to your point,
learning.
And you can help me answer this because I don't know the answer. I'm just asking. I don't really know through 2 games what the identity of Clint Kubiak is. That's what you were just referring to.
Right.
But we do know it worked today, right?
Yeah.
419 yards. So it was a balanced attack. Kirk was good. Dalvin had a lot of holes. Dalvin ran really well.
Yeah.
So I don't think he has a distinguishable quality through 2 games. That would be kind of insane, right? But so far, it worked today. Yeah. The offense cleaned up a lot of those penalties. Only 3 for the entire game.
Yep.
And none in the first half. What didn't work today was the defense, right? 474 yards given up total by the Vikings defense. Kyler Murray threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Right.
So the defense had a couple of splash
2
plays.
interceptions, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of splash
and
plays. But
it should have been a fumble. Should have been a fumble. I think that fumble 2 feet in rule is dumb. Like, it's still a live ball, so you should just have to touch something in bounds before something touches out of bounds, and it should be your ball. It's not like a catch. Because a catch is like...
Got to establish that you're in bounds, though.
But a catch, he was 1 foot was in. The catch is because the ball is in the air, and if it hits the ground, it's dead. If Nick Vigil touches that, and 1 foot hits the ground and it stays in bounds, it's still a live ball. Like, that's why I don't get that play, because it's a live ball,
right, it's still the rule,
not
though.
A dead ball. Like,
You're
a throw is a dead
change,
ball.
Though.
It is. It's dumb because it's dumb.
All right.
Like, he shouldn't have to get 2 feet in on a fumble. Like, it just switched hands. You got one of your body parts is still in. It's a fumble. It should be his ball.
Jerry from Crystal, you're on Vikings Fan Line. Jerry, hi.
Hi. Say, listen, I think in some ways, I hate to say this, but it's the best possible thing for us. Mike Zimmer, I mean, he always complains about kickers, but let's face it, he plays for field goals. That's going to happen. In a day and age with 2-point conversions, going for it on 4th down is common. He isn't picking that up.
Not yet.
And I think we got to look at it realistically. He was a really good coach for the first 5 years here. Now the game has kind of passed him by. He's a grumpy old guy that blames everybody else when something goes wrong. It's the kicker's fault. It's the quarterback's fault. It's the wide receiver's fault. You know what? Everybody but him. Now he's got 75 assistant head coordinators. I mean, the guy should get a glass of whiskey, sit down in his beautiful home in Kentucky, and call it a day.
All right,
it's
thanks.
Over for him.
Thanks for the call. Some of that's just obviously Jerry trying to be funny, and it made me laugh. But still, the first point, I think is fair. For a coach that doesn't like field goal kickers, I like Jerry's point. Take the ball out of his hands.
Right.
Find ways to score more in the end zone itself, so the kicker isn't as big of a factor. It is weird where you're going to hang your kicker out to dry and just say, all right, you already missed an extra point. Go nail this 37-yarder. Again, instead of a 30-yarder, 25-yarder, whatever. But that's not what he did. The Seattle Seahawks will honor the opponent next week. We're going to let the network go here in a second and then just do Fan Line locally here in the Twin Cities for another 45 or 60 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. Before we let the network go, give us a quick synopsis of what you think is going to be different next week against Seattle.
Fans. Hopefully the fans know to be quiet when the offense is on the field and loud when the defense is out there. I think honestly, this team did everything they could do to win today. Like, let's just hope it doesn't come down to the kicker again. Like, they did everything possible to win. I don't think there was anything glaring. Like you said, offensive line. Kirk wasn't running for his life. There wasn't a lot. I mean, Rashad Hill had a couple times was like, whoa, dude, come on now. But other than that, the offensive line was pretty good. Like, we didn't notice them. And I think that's the key of an offensive line. If you don't notice them, they're probably doing their job. Defensively, yes, you got to stop some of those explosive plays, but it's Kyler Murray. Nobody's going to really have, other than Russell Wilson, yes, he's going to have it too, but nobody really gets 7 seconds to throw the ball. Like, that's unheard of. Kyler Murray is a unicorn when it comes to that, getting missing. Because Lamar Jackson can run, but Lamar's not running to throw. He's running to score. Kyler's actually running to throw. And so I think next week is just hopefully, the DK Metcalf effect of last time doesn't happen. Tyler Lockett's had a big, deep ball every week. So hopefully the safeties are realizing that. Like, we have to stay deeper than the deepest. And then the offense, just do what you've been doing. Like, they look good. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and now KJ Osborne, they have a trio that's working. Kirk Cousins is getting the ball out of his hands. We saw Tyler Conklin on the screen. So the offense is, they're doing their best.
Speaking of safeties, how lucky did we get, was it Weatherly that basically had his hand on Kyler Murray's face mask when he threw that interception to Woods? So that one probably should have came back to Arizona.
If that was Aaron Rodgers, that would have, that would have been a flag if that was Aaron Rodgers.
More of your phone calls here locally, but if you're going to be on the network and get let go here in a second, you can continue to listen to Minnesota Vikings Fan Line. If you have the iHeartRadio app, that's also how you can listen to the Power Trip Morning Show, by the way, Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 9. But we're going to keep taking calls. You can just find KFAN on the iHeartRadio app and keep listening to Vikings Fan Line with myself and Ron. Vikings lose 34-33 as Greg Joseph missed a 37-yarder as time expired. Vikings fall to 0-2. This has been the KFAN Minnesota Vikings Radio Network, driven by Polaris.
Missing details.
Vikings Fan Line now continues on FM 100.3 KFAN and the Fan Radio Network. Vikings Fan Line on the Fan is presented by Comcast, Honda, Youngsteads, TimberTech, Carboni's Pizzeria, and by Shift Real Estate. To join in on the conversation on Fan Line, call 651-989-KFAN or 800-320-5326. Now it's your reaction to all the action. Vikings Fan Line. Along with Ron Johnson, here's KFAN's Corey Cove.
The Vikings lose 34-33 to the Cardinals. Let's dive right back into the phone call, 651-989-5326 or 1-800-320-5326. Ryan from Hudson. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, guys. Corey, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan. Initials game, genius.
Thank you. That's the right answer.
I love that. I just want to talk about Jordan Berry, actually. And though 2 losses, they suck. We all know that as Vikings fans, they suck. But Jordan Berry, he had a huge punt to give the Vikings a chance to put the Bengals way back in their zone. Today he had a good ones, but that one he shanked. I just want. But yeah, I always love listening to you. Love you guys. Love the Power Trip. And sell meat sauce. I said hi, would you?
All right, right on. Appreciate that.
Yeah, to the punt thing though, he didn't shank it. He did, but he was trying. He thought he was going to pin the guy, and it just left. I mean, Greg Coleman probably could answer it. I mean, we don't really know. He probably hit his foot wrong or something. But yeah, he was trying to pin him back, and my guess is coffin kick it to that left corner so he can't return it. And yeah, he kicked an absolute pooch to the 40-yard line. So yeah, I mean it's.
The roughing the kicker call against Arizona.
That was a big one.
That instant replay, though, it looked like Barry's shin could have been shattered, right? That's why that penalty is in place for that exact kind of a play. Like, It didn't look like there was malice on the.
No.
I forget who exactly it was for Arizona.
It was like number 57 or 59.
But he fell
or something.
right into Barry's like ankle shin area.
Yeah.
It's like that's how you break your leg.
Right.
Man, that looked really bad. Slow motion made it look
I
even
thought
worse.
his knee had buckled or something. It
looked bad.
Yeah.
Got lucky though. Steve from Lakeville. Hi, Steve.
Yeah, hi guys. They just had a quick comment about the I love PA as announcer, but and I know some people don't like Gus Johnson, but I thought Aqib Talib was phenomenal. I love listening to him. And then I just have a little take about the kicker also. I'm 58 years old. I can remember one Super Bowl with the Raiders. That's it. It's not Zimmer. We've gone through Gary Anderson, Blair Walsh, wide left, Dan Bailey. How about we draft a kicker high and not worry about offensive linemen? It seems like our offensive linemen played pretty good today. That's my take.
Did they? We definitely need Christian Darrisaw on the field as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's practicing. I don't know if it's still individual drills or whatever, but I have no idea what the timetable is for Christian Darrisaw, the first round pick this year. We have no idea what the time frame is for Wyatt Davis, when he's actually going to be inserted into the lineup. We definitely have some top picks that are offensive linemen that are not performing. But again, back to the curse garbage. I don't know what we do. There's a lot of teams that want kickers.
Right.
Every year, there's teams looking for kickers. It's bizarre that a skill that is so specific that we can't find 32 of them on the planet that are
They're
good.
just over like with Messi and let Lionel Messi and playing in the whatever league that is out there. There's 17 different soccer leagues.
Yeah, but we've tried that trick so many times, right? What was the dude in the 1990s that tried out for like the Jets?
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
The soccer player, Tony something. I forget
I'm
his
just saying
last
there has to
name.
be
It just doesn't
a
work.
bunch of like there has to be a few over there that could actually do it though. But I want to pose a tweet to you because everybody keeps trying to put blame, and this this is a KFAN Vikes tweet.
Hashtag
KFAN Vikes. If you want to get into the conversation, hashtag KFAN Vikes. But here's one from Gabe Henderson. And so this is internal Vikings. So this is on the plane, hearing all the talks, the groans and moans. But this is what he said. We can't put this 100% on Greg Joseph. We have to be better on third down, which is true. They were 2 for 10.
That's bad.
On third down.
That's like 20%.
That is 20%. Good math. And then he said those 10 points given up with 35 seconds to end the first half, which is true. The defense gave up 10 points. And then he said we got to bounce back against Seattle. But the 10 points given up with 34 seconds to end the first half, that's a lot in 34 seconds. Granted, the Vikings scored 2 in that span, but the defense, and that's what we talked about, the Rondale Moore piece, getting out of bounds, blah, blah. But then also the 2 for 10 on third down. Like if you're a little bit better on third down, the time of possession probably is a little bit longer. You don't give the ball back to the Cardinals as much. There's other pieces of this game they're going to break down during the week. And,
okay, of course, but that's Gabe, and I met him on Friday. Really nice guy. But
how
that's
do you do
also
in the initials,
Gabe,
though?
Not good. He got shut out. But it's also Gabe trying to let Greg Joseph off the hook. When the fact is, we've had 2 games now, and PA talked about it 30 minutes ago in the between the lines bit.
Yeah,
we've had 2 games now where if Dalvin Cook holds onto the ball, right, in overtime, the Vikings, despite all of their flaws last week and not playing very well, could have come out with a victory in week 1 by playing poorly. All of the things Gabe just said, third down inefficiency, right? Defensive lapses. Again, damn near 500 yards given up by the defense today. They could have won if Greg Joseph just hits a field goal. So the Vikings are a flawed team, right? We said that last week on Fanline. Despite their flaws, could have been, maybe should have been 1-0. Despite their flaws, could have been, maybe should have been 2-0. They're not, they're 0-2, but you can say the 15 reasons they lost today, but it all comes down to those can all be wiped away if Greg Joseph doesn't miss that extra point, and more specifically, because the one that matters when it all counts is the field goal at the end.
I mean, what about the D.D. Westbrook taking the punt, though, instead of letting it bounce to the end zone?
And that was preposterous, right? Not only does he receive the punt within the 10, it was about the 8 or 9 yard line, then he runs 7 yards backwards and then horizontally.
Yeah.
A lot of strange plays.
Yeah,
that can be wiped away. Men in Black style with a Greg Joseph field goal.
Initial heartbreak, everybody's going to sit here, initial reaction, and blame Greg Joseph. Yes, he deserves a little bit of blame, but there is a lot of plays that you can say, if we hadn't have done this.
That's every game,
If we
though.
hadn't have done that. Right.
At the end of the day, again, all of that can be wiped away.
Yeah.
And they can be 2-0 with no fumble from Dalvin and no
there's a lot
missed
of ifs.
field
I mean,
goal
my coach
from
said
Greg
that
Joseph.
if grandma had what granddad had, she'd be granddad. So,
Explain that one to me during the break, because that sounds weird. 651-989-5326 or 1-800-320-5326. More of your phone calls after this, reacting to the Vikes' second loss of the season. This is Minnesota Vikings Fan Line on KFAN and the Fan Radio Network.
Eno.com. Listen tomorrow as our know-it-alls tell you what the Vikings should have done better today. The Power Trip, PA, Common, and Barrero are all back and live tomorrow. Now back to Vikings football on KFAN.
Justin Jefferson wide right, KJ Osborne slot right, Dalvin the single set. On first down, play action to Dalvin up that sweet run. Deep shot, man uncovered, KJ, 20, 10, touchdown! 2 plays, 1 lead, and KJ Osborne's first National Football League touchdown. It's 6-0 Minnesota!
Welcome back to Minnesota Vikings Fan Line. I'm Corey Coe from the Power Trip Morning Show. There's former NFL and Gopher receiver Ron Johnson. KJ Osborne, Ron Johnson, 5 catches, 91 yards in his first career touchdown, as PA just said. A long one, 64 yards, right?
Yeah,
it was a good one.
Yeah.
You wanted to make him the Liuna hardest working player of the game, thanks to our friends at Liuna. Your joke during the break was that might be the last time he has a chance to win it, so let's give it to him. Even though Daniil had a monster game, Kirk played well, whatever.
I mean, the thing, and I say that just because of who he's in a room with.
Right.
I mean, you're in a room with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. I mean, not to say he can't continue to have this success, but my guess is Justin Jefferson's going to look at the plays he missed today. We know Adam Thielen in the red zone is coming to him. But yeah, he shined today, and he and not just the touchdown. I mean, that was a big play, but I mean his ability to get open in the middle of the field, make some tough catches. I mean, he made a catch one time in the middle and got absolutely hit in the midsection, like lower leg area, and I thought he was gonna like let the ball go, and he held on. So kid earned it.
I saw Power Trip Bets just tweet out that the Vikings opened up as 2.5-point underdogs at home. The one I'm looking at, Caesar Sportsbook, has them as a 1-point underdog. So either way. While the sports books settle in on what the line is, so far it looks like the Vikings will be slight underdogs at home against the 1-1 Seahawks.
Do you hammer that one?
I don't feel good about this team yet. I don't know what they are yet. I can't tell. So I don't think I touch that one at all. But what do I know? Right? I'm awful at gambling. I just love it. It's my favorite thing. Ricky from Duluth. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, what's up, guys? I didn't like the decision making at the end by Zimmer. I think they had maybe 3 first downs in a row. In the last catch by Osborne, I think there was about 35 seconds left to go, and they just kind of let it run all the way down to kick the field goal. I thought that they should have tried to at least get a little bit closer. With that much time, they could have ran up and spiked it, and even on second down, tried to get more yards. And Zimmer, at that point, should have known at that range, 37 yards, he'd already missed an extra point, which is a 33-yarder. The 3 that he'd made all season were beyond 50, so at the very least, he should have just had Kirk run 10 yards back, take a knee, and try one for 50 out.
All right. Yeah, thanks for the call. And again, but he just made the point, right?
Yeah.
The extra points are that kind of magic distance 5 yards ahead of where he missed from. So it is about a 90%er. I think it's just shy of 90% from a 37-yard range at the NFL level. So that's how rare it was. But of course, it's a Vikings kicker, so he missed it. But that's a virtual guarantee. I'm still with a lot of the callers and a lot of the tweeters that I want to give Greg Joseph, who had missed an extra point in the game,
right,
as many, I don't know, mental high fives as possible before he launches that field goal. And if we can get him from the 19-yard line to the 12 and make that 37-yarder a 30, even if it's virtually the same kick in terms of mechanics, and I don't know kicking well enough, I assume it's almost the exact same kick from that distance in terms of how hard you're swinging your leg. If that mentally helps him say, I got this. This is from 30 out. This is a cakewalk. Then that's, I think, the reason why you do it. Again, we've argued it for an hour and a half, but to me,
but I have one for you, though. So a KFAN Vikes tweet just came in. So Mike W1011. He said, can we talk about the Dalvin Cook? So Ben Lieber brought this up in the post game as well. Dalvin Cook's ankle. And then he said he felt like if Dalvin Cook was maybe a little bit more, and maybe it was knee. He said knee, but it looked like ankle, the J.J. Watt deal. He said, do we think that was a dirty play when J.J. Watt? And my answer to that, my personal, no, because it was just a normal tackle. I think Dalvin took it personally because where he was, the way he went down, he can't see what J.J. Watt's doing. And a lot of times it feels like maybe a guy rolls up or personally is trying to do that. I think they call it like the alligator roll, where they kind of keep twisting. And JJ didn't. He jumped up to celebrate, but the other D linemen were kind of pushing Dalvin Cook back towards JJ Watt, which must have bent him in a weird position. And then JJ went down to actually say, like, hey, are you okay? And then, Sugarman kind of points to get out the other. At first, Sugarman didn't say anything, though. Sugarman got tough when the other offensive lineman came over, like, JJ, get the hell out of here. Then Sugarman does the point, like, man, get away from here. And then JJ, it looked like he felt bad. So my answer to that, no, I don't think it was intentionally dirty. It was just a tackle from behind, and Dalvin got bent up. But if he's not hurt, like Ben said, maybe he does break some of those where it doesn't look like he had his feet and his knees completely under him. Because, 131 yards is a lot, but he probably could have rushed for 190 if he could have really put that foot in the ground in some of those plays. Because he slipped a couple of times where I heard Aqib Talib bring that up. Like, it looks like he slipped again behind the line of scrimmage. He was close.
Let me ask you an unanswerable question because it would require just an endless supply of polling.
Yeah.
If you could poll every Vikings fan right now and said you only can pick one of these two options, this game at the end, right? Yep. Forget the other 50, right? Okay. Forget the other 59 minutes and 30 seconds, the final 30 seconds of this game. Do you put more of the blame on Zimmer for just sitting on it and just letting him kick the field goal but not trying to get more yards, or do you put the blame on Joseph for missing it? Forget the rest of the game, just the actual end. Are you more mad at Zimmer or more mad at Joseph? What do you think more fans are feeling right now? That it's a coaching mistake or a kicking mistake?
I think it's 50-50. Like right now on Twitter.
Give me a 51-49 though. Which way does it lean?
If it's 51-49, I think more people are going to say Joseph because it's a 37-yard field
That's
goal.
where I'm at too.
Yeah, it's a 37-yarder.
I'm not thrilled with the idea of just sitting on it.
Yeah.
But he's just got to make that. He's an NFL kicker. And again, like we keep hammering, 5 yards is going to be the same percentage. So he would still have the same percent chance of making a 32-yarder. Because if
he does try to go for that 5 yards and something Vikings happens where he fumbles again or something, like then we're going to be like, man, why didn't you just kick the ball? You were in field goal range. It's anything can happen.
It's frustrating though. But I'm curious because I'm feeling the Twitter hate for both.
Right.
We've taken calls that are displeased with both the kicker and the coach. So I'm just curious if it is one way or the other. I think it is probably
the craziest thing is right
split.
Before he went to kick and they got in range 37. Like I went to grab my bag because I was like, okay, let me get in the studio, and it's like, oh, they're about to win this game, and I stopped, and I said, you know what, he might miss this, and that's the problem. I guarantee every Vikings fan did the same thing. Like, oh yes, we're in field goal range, we're gonna win. Wait, no, we might lose.
Oh yeah, no, everybody. If you live in the state, you have to think, well, this isn't going in. You have to be pleasantly surprised when it goes in, not beyond surprised when it goes out. John from Northfield. Hi, John.
Well, I'm going to blame Ron Johnson. He grabbed his bag and stopped.
Oh, now we got a jinxer.
I mean, look at the offense did what they did to get him down there. 2 games in a row. You could have a fumble, which happened last game. There's so many things. It's a Minnesota thing, it seems like, but, like they said before, Zimmer shouldn't be fired. I mean, they should not even talk about that because his defenses, other than last year, but look at the injuries, and look at San Francisco. Look what their defense was with all the injuries. I don't know. I don't ever remember a game where the defense have maybe played bad and they come back and not have a good game. And they gave up 400 yards to Murray, but they did keep him pretty well contained too.
As a runner, yeah.
Yards. This is the NFL. I mean, for God's sake. I mean, teams are going to score, and there's going to be. It's just. I don't know. You just can't blame one person, and I think that they played very well today. And they lost. Seattle lost too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were ahead, and the other team came back.
Yeah, Derrick Henry with a monster game, had 3 touchdowns and like 180 yards or something. John, thanks for the call. So I guess, Ron, the other thing, too, is this is just sports mentality or maybe gambling mentality, which I'm curious about. Mm-hmm. The whole what can go wrong as opposed to what can go right, right? Everybody's saying, well, if you go for it there with 30 seconds to go, what if Dalvin fumbles? What if Kirk gets sacked?
Right.
What if Kirk throws a pick? What if something bad goes wrong?
Right.
Well, isn't that the definition of playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win? I mean, why not focus on here's all the things we're doing right. Here's what could go right. We could get this team 12 yards closer, right? We could find a way to just score a touchdown,
right?
As opposed to just having the kick go wrong. Right. So I don't love the idea of, well, what if Dalvin fumbles? Well, just because it happened once doesn't mean it's going to happen again. And again, if you're the kind of team that always runs into a fumble, a pick, a sack in that spot, then you're not that good anyway. So
there's a conversation.
On what could go right?
There's a conversation in the headset, though. So the coaches are having that conversation. I don't know how many Zimmer allows to talk. My guess is just him and Kubiak and maybe one advisor. Who knows if it's Dennison has a line in or whatever. But normally it's the offensive coordinator, head coach, and they're having a little conversation. And maybe the forgot the other guy's name, but it's Clint's right hand man.
Gary.
No, no, the other guy that was when he was the offensive assistant when Clint was the QB coach.
John DeFilippo.
No,
North Turner.
Nope, it's one of the guys who's still here though. But I think he's off. He's whatever. He's a new quarterbacks coach. Crap, whatever his name is.
Dude, you're asking the wrong guy.
I'll look it up real quick. But the quarterbacks coach, him and the head coach, they will talk to each other and they will say, Zimmer will say, hey, what do you have in this situation? If they don't have anything that Zimmer likes, then yeah, that's maybe why he sat on it. Because my guess is when Andy Reid goes to Bieniemy and he says, hey, 30 seconds left, what do you have for Pat? And he says, this is this, we did in this game. Andy's probably like, yep, let's do it. Let's get us 5 more yards. Clint doesn't have that experience. You know what I mean? Like he can't go to the bag of tricks and say, oh yeah, I did this, when we beat so-and-so, or I did this play with. So it is a learning curve. It is maybe a little bit of hesitancy because they don't really know what they can get out of it.
All right, again, you played the game. You're probably right. What I'm about to say is probably wrong. But then he's not deserving of that spot. If you can't...
But he has to learn, though.
But I'm saying if you can't come up with... If you don't have a 5-yard play and then a spike after that in your arsenal...
No, I'm not saying he doesn't have it. He has it.
Well,
I'm just saying he has to convince Zimmer that it's going to go. Like, you have to be able to...
But then my point is that then Zimmer's got the wrong guy. If you don't trust your coordinator in that spot to get you 5 to 10 more yards without a horrific, tackle for loss or a sack, then I think we got the wrong guy. And I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying conceptually I don't like that we don't have a coordinator that's capable in pressure spots.
He does, though. He's got to talk him into it, though.
Well,
Andrew Janocko.
Really
that's what it is. Andrew Janocko. He's been here. So, my guess is he's going to Janocko like, hey, what do you think Kirk wants? Because that's the guy that's with Kirk every day, every minute. Meetings, on the field, talking to him on the sideline. He's the guy bringing the Microsoft tablet over to him. So Janocko is also on the headset saying, hey, Clint, this is what we should do, or this is what Kirk might want. Clint then has to say, this is what we've done. Hey, coach, 30 seconds left. Call a timeout. This is the play. If we don't, he's going to say, Kirk, if we don't get it, blah, blah, can it to this. So meaning can it, you're going to can. You're going to kill the play, and you're going to go to that next play. If he doesn't have all that ready to go, yeah, that's when Zimmer's like, let's just let the clock run out.
See, that to me, that's fireable across the board.
But we don't know, and this is all speculation. We don't know.
I'm not calling for anybody's head. I'm just saying this goes for any NFL team. If you're down to the final 30 seconds of an NFL game and everybody's looking at each other, like, do we know what we're doing or not?
Right.
If the answer is no, then they shouldn't be coaches. They should be ready for all scenarios. And to your point, you just nailed it, dude. This isn't, we don't have a timeout, we're panicking, what do we do? In the scenario of let's get Greg Joseph closer, it's we are calling a timeout with almost 30 seconds to go.
Right.
So we have a chance to take a deep breath and now say, all right, we clearly, if we get tackled in bounds, have to get up and kill the clock.
Mm-hmm.
You got a little bit of time to think about what do we have.
Yeah.
So if Zimmer or Kubiak or whoever is panicking and doesn't know whether they're comfortable of calling a timeout and then coming up with a play or just running the clock out, again, that is game theory. And I know people hate when I bring that phrase up because they're like, God, he uses the phrase game theory all the time. But that's the whole point. If you're not capable of managing game theory when it matters the most, right? The final 30 to 60 seconds of a game. Can you make a game theory mistake in the first 2 minutes of the first quarter? Of course, who gives a rat's ass? I get it. If you are overwhelmed by maximizing your chance to win and minimizing your opponent's chance to win in the final 30 to 60 seconds, that's when you hit the panic button, then you're over your head. You're over your head. You have a timeout. Call timeout. Yeah. And then you know what? Because think about it. If you call timeout and say, man, I don't know if it's worth the risk. Right. I don't know if it's worth the risk. Then you know what you do? You just make the easiest run or even a kneel down for God's sake. That would be rippable probably. But then you just run the ball, spike the ball. You still let Greg Joseph kick it, but at least you thought about it.
Yeah.
If you just let it run down and then because you don't have a decision, that's just kind of preposterous. So, and I think that's why people are frustrated with Greg Joseph and Mike Zimmer, is that final 30 seconds felt frustrating.
Yeah, it did.
It just is.
It was a stall.
That's why I've been saying this for like years, and
Everybody
nobody
needs
listens.
a game theory
Every
guy.
team
I
in the
listen to
NFL needs to have a
I know
game
a lot of people
theory
don't listen
specialist.
to you, but I listen to you.
And by the way, they also need a kicker specialist. We have a quarterbacks coach. Why don't we have a coach who is specifically for field goal kickers? Right, you just mentioned there's like 1,000 assistant coaches. Why can't one of them be not just a special teams coordinator, a field goal kicking specialist?
How much do you
coach?
pay that guy though?
I don't know.
Have you seen what kickers do at practice?
We just
They
paid
really do
Brian
much.
O'Neill $93 million. Have him give some of that money to a kicking coach. One final segment of Minnesota Vikings Fan Line after this with Ron Johnson. I'm Corey Cove. This is Minnesota Vikings Fan Line on KFAN and The Fan.
The Fan.
All right, final segment of Minnesota Vikings Fan Line. A couple of final phone calls as we wrap up the discussion about the 34-33 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. I'm Corey Cove from the Power Trip Morning Show. There's Ron Johnson. Speaking of the Power Trip Morning Show, Ben Lieber, who was in Arizona along with Chris Aki. Ben will join us at 7 o'clock tomorrow. So between 7 and 9, you can hear Ben's reaction to the loss and his sideline viewpoint. Right. I don't know. Maybe you saw something interesting. If you didn't hear it on the broadcast, maybe he'll tell us it tomorrow, 7 to 9. Hans from Houston. Hi, Hans.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thank you for taking my phone call. I so much love your program, and a couple things here to talk about. First of all, everybody's talking about how aggressive the Colts should be, Coach Zimmer, in the last 30 seconds, and, of course, the kicker, right, for missing that goal. However, the truth is, if we let any team to score more than 25 points at any given game, we always will find someone to blame, However, with that being said, I could see a huge improvement in just 1 week. So my question to you guys is, what do you think it will take to build a good, reliable, and dependable defense, just like the one that we had a few years back? And is it about the players, the lack of experience of the players, or the coaching stuff?
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Well, when they put the focus this year, as we mentioned earlier, Ron, on Christian Darrisaw, Wyatt Davis, right, at least in the top couple of rounds, right? And Kellen Mond, for that matter. The cavalry's not coming when it comes to defense, right? Basically, what you're seeing now is what you have. I don't think like Chaz Surratt or guys like that are going to make a huge impact. So they didn't really draft for defense this year.
Well, they did that in offseason, though. They got those guys.
Right, but some of those so far, like Bashad Breeland, haven't really panned out. Although Nick Vigil's been nice, right?
Nick Vigil, Patrick Peterson,
been okay.
Xavier Woods.
Yeah.
And then you get guys back that would hurt. Kendricks. You haven't gotten Barr back. You get Daniil Hunter back. So 5 out of 1 isn't bad.
They spent money on Dalvin Tomlinson.
That's another good one. Michael Pierce.
And Pierce is a delayed free agent. I get it. So
yeah. So 7 out of 1.
But to his point, though, been good. But to his point, if you don't like the defense, and again, they gave up almost 500 yards today.
Yeah.
If you don't like the defense, this is kind of who we are outside of Barr.
Right.
Right. It's not like we have 2 or 3 draft picks that just need a little more experience and we're going to throw them in the mix. This is basically it. So if you're concerned about the defense, I don't know what to tell you, right? Can they get better? Of course, right? Anybody that's given up almost 500 yards in a game can get better.
Right.
Daniil looked like he was the old Daniil today. That's a huge bright spot, right? Yep. Moving forward. I think Michael Pierce has played really well through the first couple of games.
Real good.
Vigil's been a really nice surprise.
Yep. You know what? Oli Udoh today, I was surprised. Like he didn't look as bad as we thought he was going to look before. Like he struggled early. Today he looked pretty good too.
So I didn't really keep an eye on the offensive line today. I just clearly saw that Dalvin had holes and the penalties were way down.
Right.
I saw Courtney Cronin tweet before the game that, and she even kind of put a disclaimer on it saying, like, look, I don't know if this means anything, but they tried a bunch of different offensive line combinations as they were wrapping up kind of walkthroughs this morning on the field. Do you think there's any chance at some point we just move Cleveland over? Right, because he played left tackle in college. Before Christian Darrisaw comes back, clearly that changes everything. But
because we don't really know what that groin's going to do. So yeah, I mean,
but couldn't you just put Cleveland at left and put Rashad Hill at right? Left guard.
You could
just flip those two.
You could, or Wyatt Davis comes to guard, and then Cleveland goes to tackle.
can Wyatt play either guard spot or not?
That I don't know.
Right.
The only thing I've heard is if a guy's used to having his right hand in the ground and stepping with his right foot, because people always try to say that left tackle, right tackle, left guard, right guard is nothing. And then I watched NFL live on ESPN, and I forgot which lineman it was, but he was saying it's not as easy as people think. I can't remember if it was Quentin Nelson or somebody, but they were just saying the muscle memory footwork.
Oh, I have no doubt.
It's
sure that's
not
true.
as easy as you think it is.
But you would think left guard to left tackle is a very small change in terms
correct.
of technique.
Yeah, correct.
I get flipping sides of the line, but if Ezra is more comfortable at left, and if I thought Rashad was better today, but he had that weird hold at the end where he reached out and kind of clotheslined that. He didn't have to do that, right? That guy was not going to get him.
Yeah, just push him, push him up.
Or honestly, just let him go. He wasn't going to get him anyway, right? Dalvin was already around the corner.
Yeah, it was a bad kind of mental mistake that Zimmer's going to call out at some point in the meeting. But yeah, if he had just kind of nudged him, make him run the loop, so he has to run a little bit more than normal. Yeah, he wasn't bad though. It wasn't like week one, right, where we were like, this guy should not be on this team.
Karen from Elk River, you're on Vikings Fan Line. Hi, Karen.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Thank you for taking my call. So I just kind of wanted to touch base. I like the points that you guys are making. However, my biggest point, the reason why I called was just, I think that as a Minnesota Vikings team, we always put so much pressure on the kicker, which I feel like we should kind of try to stray away from, just because I feel like they get in their own head because, they're like, have it in their head that they're not going to make that final kick, which when we try to make those, first touchdown, the second touchdown, why don't we finish off strong by, trying to make sure that we get more points rather than putting all the pressure on Greg Joseph to make that kick.
Yep. All right. Thanks for the call. I think the first part of it's fair, right? In terms of, you try to always go for the kill shot anyway and try to end the game, so it doesn't come down to the kicker. But the second point, the only reason I'm going to disagree with Karen is, again, this is their job. Right, it is a high pressure job because it is like a long snapper or a punter. Right, it's sometimes we only notice the field goal kickers when they screw up, and today's the day. Right, Greg Joseph gets a paycheck to make that field goal.
Correct.
So we can say all we want that we shouldn't put that much pressure on him. A lot of these guys don't read the newspaper articles. They don't watch
Greg
TV.
Joseph even on Twitter?
That's my point.
So.
Greg might not have any idea how much quote pressure we're putting on him as Vikings fans. He might not be a Vikings historian. He just knows he's in the NFL.
He's definitely probably not a Vikings historian.
And he's in the NFL and he's trying to get a paycheck.
I'm pretty sure the local media, though, because they're he's probably going to be on the list to be, to come to the press conference or whatever. Some people are going to point that out, I think. Somebody's going to bring that up. Like, hey, what do you think about the Vikings kicker curse? Or
I can promise you, though, and you know this, I can promise you, he's putting more pressure on himself to build a career. Right? He wants to make the kick, not to break a Vikings curse. He wants to have a 15-year career in the NFL and make millions of dollars.
Correct.
That's the pressure. It's
correct.
I need to make this game-winning field goal. So I don't know. I save my job. Right. That's more important. Matt from Moorhead. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Corey. That's the whole point to me, is that the kicker didn't do his job. And at no point, even in real time, did Zimmer not, trying to get closer or taking a shot at the end zone. It never occurred to me at the time that he was violating some long-held coaching paradigm that, oh my God, he really should have tried to get closer there. What did you say that the efficiency on that kick is 90%?
I think Charge. I think Charge tweeted out that it's something like 88% from 37 yards out.
Okay. So if that's it, then if you're going to run a play, barring the fact that if the defense is showing you something, you are absolutely confident that, oh my God, that's open down the seam for a touchdown there, and I'm going to check down to it. I don't have a problem with that necessarily bucking the trend, but you're running a play then that's going to get you what to 94%.
Exactly. No, I'm with you.
I mean, that you don't have to be an analytics guy to know as a coach that I'm not going to get much. And really, you're playing against the field there. You're playing against all the possibilities of a negative outcome. And when I say negative outcome, I just mean that it's going to worsen your chances of making that field goal. Now that's going to go to 85%. And wasn't it when did the drive start? At 20?
Yeah, something like that. I'd have to look back. But yeah, it was a long drive.
They had driven the length of the field and put themselves in a position that's around 90%. And that's all you can ask for. So, kicker, do your job.
I agree with almost everything Matt just said. I think that was very well said. I think the only difference is that Greg Joseph's inexperienced, right, Ron? So to me, that's the part. The variable is his mental toughness.
Right.
Is he ready to make a 37-yarder when it matters, or do those extra 6 or 7 yards mentally make a difference? And
that last drive, by the way, started on the 23.
Gotcha. So I'm arguing for something we don't know the answer to, because to his point, and this is where I think Matt's 100% correct. If you have a kicker that's a 7-8 year vet, and you know the difference between 30 yards and 37 to him is 0, right? It's the same thing. Then you just do exactly what Zim did. You let him kick the 37-yarder. You take the 88 to 90% chance he's going to make it, and you go on with your lives. If it's an unknown, like Greg Joseph, and he already missed an extra point, and you're not sure if he's mentally good from 37 versus 30, then I don't know what you do. Then we go back to our complaint or our breakdown earlier and say, do we have a quick 5 to 7 yard play that we feel super confident about, that the chance that something goes wrong is minimalized? You move him closer just for his mental toughness, not for any percentage gain, right? Just to make Greg Joseph feel better. Then that's when you can argue you should have tried to get closer for specifically this kicker. Otherwise, Matt's right. The percentages aren't going to change that much. 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards closer. It's about the same. It's going to be 90%.
I mean, and coaches do ask the kicker that too, though. They say, where do you want us to get to? What hash? What do you need? Because even though you would think, okay, we've done this a bunch of times, I know where he needs to get.
Oh, dude, good point. I didn't think about that, by the way.
Sometimes they ask him that. They will ask him.
Was that center of the field? I don't remember where it was lined up. Because that's another great point that I hadn't even thought of until you just said that. If Greg Joseph needs it on a specific hash mark, right, then you could maybe say, all right, we got to run one play. Let's try to get 5 or 6 or 7 yards, and let's try to get it on this side of the field, right? That would be another fair argument. But again, ultimately, he's an NFL kicker. It's a 37-yarder. Should be very simple. Boot it through, win the game, be 1-1. It didn't happen. So none of that really matters. Right? What does matter, Ron? I mean, who knows?
Again, like I said, there's so many variables. The caller brought that up.
Just make the kick.
Make the kick. Like that's the only thing you can hang your hat on. And it's not a bad thing, because people are, why are we putting so much pressure on the kicker? Kickers have pressure.
Yeah, that's
so
their
do
job.
Quarterbacks. They make $84 million or $128 million, whatever it is. Like, everybody has pressure. Justin Jefferson has pressure to make the catch. Patrick Peterson, I know he felt pressure to stop DeAndre Hopkins. You can see it in his face every time he wanted to make sure, DeAndre Hopkins was not going to be wide open and he was not to blame for this game, So, because he even said that. He said he had a dream that he was going to be Deion Sanders returning back to Atlanta and taking a ball to the house, So everybody has pressure. It's just, how do you handle it? Maybe kickers just need a psychologist. Maybe they don't need a coach. They need a psychologist to be able to close their eyes on the bench, visualize where they need to be, and then go make the kick.
Man, I got to do something different when it comes to my sleep schedule, because I'm always dreaming about drowning or being in like a basement when a building collapses. Like mine are always tragic. Maybe it's the melatonin.
What?
Yeah, I take melatonin.
Like, my dream last night, I was in a Lamborghini trying to get away in the city of Italy or something.
Yeah, doesn't that say a lot about the two of us? You're in a Lamborghini traveling the world, and I'm drowning or dying.
I was still getting shot at. People were trying to kill me, but we were getting away, which is weird. Like, I had a couple Vikings employees randomly were getting in and out of my car. Like, I don't know if we were trying to get to the Vikings facility
in Italy.
Yeah, maybe that was a prelude last night that I didn't even think about the dream. It was, we're running for our life. People are trying to kill us. The game's on the line. I
like that we closed the show with maybe the worst thing ever: people telling other people their dreams, which is what we both did.
What are your hopes and dreams? Yeah, I mean,
I just want to play poker.
But the kickers need to, it's pressure. Like, Vikings fans are not putting pressure on the kicker that they don't already have. I think Mike Zimmer is probably going to bring this up in a press conference too. The kickers already have as much pressure. I'm not putting more, because he's going to say that, because people are going to say, "Are you a bad coach when it comes to kickers? Are you putting too much pressure on your kicker?" Every kicker has pressure. Like, that's the whole point of this.
I feel the same thing about like the Twins versus the Yankees when it comes to the playoffs, right? Like, a Nelson Cruz doesn't go, "Oh, the Twins lost to the Yankees in 2004. Well, I'm screwed." It's just they have the pressure of, this is playoff baseball. This is Yankee Stadium, right? I don't think they care about a team that was 13, 14, 15, 16 years in the past.
Correct.
Especially when it's a brand new roster. Anyway,
you just don't know.
Tomorrow morning, 5:30 to 9, Power Trip Morning Show.
By the way, the kick was he was in the middle.
He was in the middle.
He was in the middle.
Interesting to see if that's where he normally likes it from.
I think his extra points are on the right hash or left hash if you're kicking it. So maybe that's why.
That's maybe one minor fair criticism is run one more play to get it to the side of the field that Greg Joseph wants it on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a fair comeback to the if you're 100% saying just kick the ball, don't risk it. Maybe that is the only comeback.
Yeah, because maybe his balls always sail right.
Just
if
to
his
get
balls
it on the
are always leaning right, then
you
maybe
get it on
he
the
likes
right
it
side of the field. Yeah, I don't know.
Go to the left side so they can go left or go right and then end up in the middle versus why right.
Thanks to Brandon. Thanks to Max. Thanks to Ron Johnson. I'm Corey Cove. Again, Power Trip Morning Show tomorrow, 5:30 until 9. Otherwise, the next Vikings game is another 3 o'clocker next Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. That one's at U.S. Bank Stadium, the first home game of the 2021 regular season. Vikings fall to 0-2. The Cardinals are up to 2-0, 34-33. Greg Joseph misses the field goal at the end, and the Vikings lose. We'll talk tomorrow about it, 5:30 to 9. See you then.